So guys, welcome to another video. So remember, in our last video we talked about array and the 2D dimensional array. So in this video we are going to talk about 3D dimensional array. Okay, so if you look at the screen, you see where we initialize the 3D array. You will see that it has 3 blocks. Okay, this block here, this one here, signifies that we have 2 different pattern. That means 2 block of array. Why this one here describe the row, how many row we have, and this one here, and this one here describe the column, how many columns we have. Okay, I know you might be confused about this. What do I mean by 2 pattern of array? So these 2 means that we have 2 set of array. See the way I just defined it so you understand it. You see this pattern just like this one. Now you see, just like this one, this is just first pattern of array, first group of elements. Okay, then we have another. It is like having this thing 2. That shows we have 2 pattern of array. This is it here. So this is the first one and this one is the second one. So these 2 means that we have two of array in one array. I don't know if you get what I mean. We have 2 array in one array. So like example, see this thing. Let me just remove these comments here, and okay, let me put back the comment because I've also initialized it here, but let me try to explain it here. See, look at, let me put it in a uniform way. This is an array. This is the first array. This is the first one. Then this one is the second one. So we have 2 array that will store different elements. Okay, that is why it's called 3D dimensional array, where we tell the compiler we have two types of array in one array. Okay, so and here we have normal 3 rows, which is row 1, row 2, row 3. Likewise, the second pattern, row 1, row 2, row 3. Also 4 columns. You can see it here. So the point now is that how does this thing works? How do you initialize it? How do I access the element inside it? It's very simple. First of all, either you initialize it like just like this, or you initialize it like this. First, let me point out something. This is the first opening curly braces, and this is the closing curly braces, the semicolon. This is the general for the body of the array. Then the 2 pattern of array that we are putting in one array is this. We are going to make use of the first opening curly braces and the second curly braces. This closing curly brace and opening curly brace differentiates one pattern of array. Then these things here, this one you see here, is the element, the group of element we store from this here, from here now, shows that is the group of element we stored in one pattern of array. Let me repeat myself. This opening and this closing here choose one pattern of array. Okay, then you will see another one here. See this one here. Let me delete. This is just a mistake. So this shows is just this shows the way the array is being formed. Okay, so this is one pattern of array and this one is one pattern of array. You can see where we use this opening and closing curly braces to show the pattern of array. So this one is one pattern of array that is storing its own group of elements, while this one is another pattern of array that is storing its own group of elements. So either you initialize it like this or you initialize it like this. I think this one will make more sense. That is why I put it down. You can see this is the opening and this is the closing, showing that this one now is one pattern of array, while this one is one pattern of array, making it 2 arrays. This is the first array. Okay, this is the first array. No matter how you want to turn it, this is the first array and this is the second array. So how do we differentiate it? I have taught the number one point. The way we differentiate it is the opening and the closing curly braces. Then the way we differentiate, we split the two arrays is using this comma here. You can see this comma. So this comma shows that we splitted this first array. This first comma shows that we splitted this first array. See this comma now shows that we splitted this first array, okay, from this second array. Remember, they are still in one umbrella of this one and this one, so this is their name, okay. So these two means that we have two arrays, why this one shows just like normal row and column. So if you look at here now, you will see it. That is why I put it like this, so you will understand it. Is if you don't understand it like this, look at now, this is our first group of elements. See it here, just like usual, the way we will normally initialize it. This is the first group of elements, which is the first the zero index row, which is this one. This one now is another row, which is zero, and which is index one, our row, the one index. How will I put this is our row, the index number one of our row, and this one now is index number two of our row, which is this one, okay. If you see the way I splitted it, I use this comma 2 to show just the way we use comma here, to differentiate the first group, second group, and the third group, okay. That is how we going to use the comma here also to differentiate the rows. So bear it in mind is that this one is the zero index row, this one is one index row, and this one is two. That means, let me put it in a way, but know that we are making use of index number. So this is the first row, second row, and the third row, okay. We will still have, okay. So this is it. So that is how it works. So either you put it like this or you put it like this, okay. So just like the way I said, the normal row and the column. So we still have the normal column, which is column 1, 2, 3, 4. But if you go by the index number, it will be in column index 0. Just like, I don't need to repeat myself, but you understand what I mean. So how do we access each of these elements? Just like usual, okay. Let me remove this comment here, okay. Let me remove this multi-line comment. Just like usual, like, let me see, if you want to use this pattern, that means you have to put another block. If you want to access those elements individually, you have to put in another block here, showing that you have this here. We are going to make use of. So either you use 0. If you use 0 here, that means you are referring to the first array, the first pattern of array. Then if you use 1, that means you are referring to the second pattern of array here. So whenever you want to access those elements individually, okay, you want to access it individually, you use this pattern by using the serial.print line data, then the element size, the array size, how many arrays you have. We have 2 arrays, so we are going to use the index number of 0 and 1. Then how many column, the column, and the row and the column, okay. So if you want to access the elements, if you want to access this element in this second array pattern, want to access maybe pin 20, the 20 element, that means you have to go for this is the the second row, which is index number 1, okay, and the column is also index number 3 if you are using the index number 3, okay. So if you want to print this 20 individual, that's how you are going to access it, but you have to specify which pattern you want to access. Is it the second pattern or the first pattern? So since you want to make use of the second pattern, you have to put 0 to tell the array that this is where you want to pick your elements. Then before you now go to the row and the column. So that is how to do it here if you want to use this method. But if you want to still use our normal for loop to print out all these elements one by one, this is a nested loop. You can see that we have two loops inside one loop. So first of all, the compiler will check this condition. So X is for selecting the arrays. You can see where I commented it here. Then this J, this for loop here is for selecting the rows. This one here is for selecting the column. So that it will print out those elements sequentially one by one. Okay, so just like the way I taught you before how the for loop works. So if this condition is true, it will enter inside the second for loop, and it will check the for loop. If the second for loop condition is true, it will also enter the third for loop. And if the third for loop condition is true, which is selecting the columns, you can see where I specify it. This X is for selecting the pattern of array. The J here is for selecting the rows, and the K is for selecting the columns. So once this third for loop the condition is true, it will execute this serial.print. Okay, it will select, because this is 0, it will select the first pattern of array because 0 is here. Then we now go to J. J is 0, so we are in 0 index, row 0 index. How will I put it? The row, number one row, which is index 0, because it is 0. So we are referring to the number one row, the index 0, which you understand what I mean by the number one row. If I say number one row, that means I'm referring to the 0 index. Okay, then it will go to this the 0 index row. Then K, this K here is also 0, so it will go to the first column. The first column, that means index 0 column, the index number, which is 0, then which is the first column. Okay, so once it executes it, it will update this K onto this third for loop is false. Onto this for loop is false. Once this third for loop has a false condition, it will go to this second for loop and start again. It will update it and add this one to 1. That means it is going to the row, the second row, which is index 1. Okay, so that is how it works. That's how it will keep on selecting the type of array pattern, the row and the column. So let's test it and see how it works. So it's done compiling. Let me copy the code. I'm going to copy the code so that we'll see how this prints all the whole elements in this 3D dimensional array. Okay, remember our aim here is to print all the whole elements, not to access it individually. We want to print all. So I will copy the code. Let me copy the code. I'm done copying it because I will burn it. Okay, I'm going to burn it. So let's simulate and see what is going on. Okay, so let's watch by simulating. Okay, it's printing it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just be counting along with me and you see. Just be looking at the screen and you see how it's printing those arrays, how it's printing those elements. Okay, you can see it's printing 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So that's how it's going to print it to that 24, which is the highest element being stored in that array. Okay, so do you see how we use the for loop to navigate, to go through to access all the element that is being stored in these two different pattern of array? Okay, so it will start over again because we are in for loop. So that is how to access all the whole element that is being stored in that 3D dimensional array. So if you want to still access it individually, I also showed you how to do that. So that is all about this video. So see you in our next video. Thank you.